Picked an area here that...
Next, Stevens takes the metal fragments to be examined under the electronic spectrometer to determine their components.
Typical looking area in the sample.
Preliminary examination of the metal has been done in Switzerland.
And we've got the little marker bars here that we can line up on each peak as they come up. This one indicates we have silver there. Over here, let's see. We've got some copper, small amount of copper. That looks like about all that's in here at the moment.
The big band here is silver, though.
The big one is silver.
Later analysis of other fragments also reveals small amounts of thulium, a rare earth element that is difficult and costly to extract here.
This is one of the...
Because of the unusual nature of the findings, the fragments are given to chemist Marcel Vogel, an expert in crystalline structures and inventor of many substances used in computer components.
The first specimen I looked at is a metal specimen, which I classified as F1. This is the appearance that it looked at, rather golden colored on one side, silvery colored here. We find that in truth it is silver and a small amount of copper. We look at it here, this same area here, under polarized light. What is unusual of this small specimen is both highly crystalline nature, and suddenly we come to a metal section as we see here, and it showed a combination of metals that I've not encountered in any normal bit of metallurgy, both crystalline deposits and metal. Now, we, with any technology that I know of, could not achieve this on this Earth plane. I could not explain the type of material that I have and its discreteness by any known combination of materials. I could not put it together myself as a scientist. It's also a challenge because I showed it to one of my friends who was a metallurgist, and he shook his head. He said, I don't see how it can be put together. And we find that in this area there is evidence of machining, that there are striations which look like the sample has been worked mechanically. It doesn't look like anything that we've made here. At this moment, I would feel very much inclined to accept what was given to me as being true.
Always security conscious, the investigators hold key discussions outdoors to prevent eavesdropping. As the work piles up, they meet to assess progress and problems.
And that is, we've got a company back here and an intercept clientele, a pretty heavy clientele. What are they going to be thinking about these hard-nosed investigators running around chasing flying saucers?
Tom, it's an investigation, and it's a good investigation.
No matter whether you're doing a murder one investigation or industrial espionage, you still have the basic criteria that you follow, investigative procedures. And I think if we maintain those type of procedures, I think we can control this situation.
There's one thing that we haven't thought about. Eventually somebody is going to come to us and say, have you ever tested these people? Have you ever tried to find out if they're lying? Have you used psychological stress evaluation? Have you used lie detection?
Yeah.
Will Billy go for that?
Oh, sure. I think Billy will go for it. He's been open with us all the way through. I don't think he'll stop at this point. Well, Steve, we've got another problem. We've put a lot of time and effort into this case already. We don't know when it's going to terminate.
Well, I want you along. I want to do a real investigation on this, and I want real investigators.
Well, what do you guys think?
I think we should go for it.
Okay, let's hope he's for real.
Look, physicists say they're all hoaxes. I've been at this for 20 years. If this is a hoax, there are no real cases.
The decision made, the team presses on. Computer analyst Jim Delatoso has some new findings to show Welsh.
Let's go back and look at this picture again and get some information about the edges. I've discovered this interesting program for measuring the edges of things and comparing it to all the other edges in the pictures based on the relationship of those edges, the width of the edges, and the properties in the edges. So we're stretching the data in the edges so we can count how many pixels wide it is. And it's very interesting what happens when you stretch them out, because it becomes very clear. Pixels, these little squares, like building blocks, and pretty easy to count. 6, 7. So this one ranges from 5 to 7 pixels wide, this edge. So we have our range here is from 6 to 8. Now what this tells us in looking at all the edges on the object is, first of all, that it's not a flat piece of plywood hung in the air, or it's not a paste up that was done. It actually has shape to it. And in this case, a very wide range, which has to do with focus. Some of the object is more in focus than other parts of the object, which tells me right off at that point that we're dealing with something of size to it.
With all the data they have amassed, the investigators have also come up with a lot of new questions. While they debate the necessity for another trip to Switzerland, a sudden crisis jolts them into a decision. There has been a phone call from Meier. Halfway between Phoenix, where the intercept offices are located, and Tucson, where Stevens lives, a spire of rock rises out of the desert floor. Part of the rim of a long-extinct volcano, Picacho Peak is noted locally as the site where the last battle of the Civil War was fought. It is here that Lee Elders and Stevens meet when necessary, again, far from curious ears. This time, Elders brings a disturbing message, one that will add a new urgency to their work.
Hey, Lee, what's up?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good. What's going on?
Oh, God, we've got some problems.
Problems?
Yeah, I just talked to Billy today, and someone tried to kidnap his daughter.
What? Nina?
Nina, right.
God.
Billy got there in time. It was 2 men. They were in a car. They used a knife. They tried to force her into the car.
What about Nina? Is she all right?
She's fine. No problems. He fired at one of them, and they escaped. No, they haven't identified any of them yet. The police are working on it, as I understand it.
This happens to people. We've had it happen before. Other cases.
We're going to set up some security measures over there, get a trail on these people.
I agree. We got to do something to take the energy out of this.
Yeah, we do. We're going to go back. You want to go?
When can we go?
Very soon.
New additions to the farmyard since their last visit include a pair of peacocks whose raucous squawks make them as effective guards as the farm geese. There are new photos, too, and more film. In some, the beam ship hovers by a tree. Meier says they use trees as a kind of magnetic ground. 2 or more ships in the same shot are almost unheard of in UFO photos. Meier has dozens of such pictures. Ships below a horizon line, such as a hill, are even rarer. In this photo, the Variation 2 ship controls a smaller unmanned drone ship, designated as Variation 5. In one demonstration, a Variation 3 ship exhibits a behavior Stevens has seen before.
We have often reported a nipping flight. We also have a wobbling flight, where it wobbles around a vertical axis.
The bobbing effect, Meier explains, is due to the ship riding the waves of the Earth's magnetic field, much as a boat on the ocean. When Meier is about to have a contact, he receives a cooling sensation on his forehead. The communication is telepathic. He prepares carefully. He is usually taken aboard the beam ships, but is unable to describe their interiors very well. There are no words, he says. Apparently, they are totally unfamiliar. The gun is a precaution, due to the threats on his life. The hat is a favorite, one he picked up on his travels in the Middle East. The tattoo he received during a brief stint as a sailor. He dresses well because he can be gone for hours and the weather in these mountains changes constantly. The walkie-talkie is a necessity because he is often left far from where he parked the bike and must call to be picked up.